Alex Baker for Awesemo.com here. I want to talk a little bit about how I set up Fantasy Cruncher to build winning GPP lineups for DraftKings and FanDuel. So this is kind of assuming that you got it through Awesemo.com. So once you load it up, you're going to have all of our projections and ownership projections already loaded in here. The next thing you need to do, you need to go to slates and pick your slate. So like if you pick afternoon, like it's going to be a different set of games. This one is the main slate for tomorrow. It's really important that you pick this so you get the right ones. The next thing, if you wanted to like fade a game because of weather or something, you can click that game in this little slate finder, and then you won't get any players from that game in your lineups. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to set up our rules for stacking and whatnot. If you don't set any rules and you just click crunch, you're going to get a lot of lineups that all look very similar. So you getting a ton of San Diego Mets stacks because those might be the two optimal stacks of the day. But like if you just do this, you're gonna have the same stacks as everyone else. Not ideal for a tournament. So what you want to do for unique players, this means that if you set it to 3 uniques, there's going to be 3 different players in each lineup. So like lineup 1 is going to be different from lineup 2 by at least 3. And then lineup 1 and 2 are going to be different from lineup 3 by at least 3 each. So this guarantees that your lineups aren't going to be overlapping too much with one another. The next thing you want to do, the hitters versus pitcher is automatically set, so you don't get any hitters versus your pitchers. You could consider changing this on a 1 or 2 game slate. Then randomness. If you don't have Fantasy Cruncher Pro, then you're going to have the classic randomness. What I usually do, I usually set different randomness for pitchers compared to hitters. Hitters are much more random than pitchers. So with pitchers, I set it to 25% randomness apiece. You can do that by clicking pitchers, go to the randomness column and click that little button. And then for hitters, you do the same. You click the hitters tab, click the randomness button. I usually set to 40% with classic randomness. So like you can see, this is already looking a lot different. We're still getting a lot of San Diego because they're a killer stack, but we're also seeing a lot of other stuff. So that is a step in the right direction. Next thing you want to do, I already had some stacks set here. So let's delete these stacks so that you'll see what it looks like on load. It will just say add team stack. So you want to add, usually you want to add 2 stacks. On DraftKings, you can set it to 5-3. That's what I recommend to start with, because if you have a stack of 5 and 3 in your lineup, it's unlikely that your lineup is going to be at a disadvantage to other lineups in the field. If you stack less, you need to be smarter with why you might not be stacking as much, like really take advantage of the lineup flexibility. A little bit tougher to pull off with a simple strategy. So set the 5-3 for DraftKings, 4-4 for FanDuel, at least when you're learning how to play. Okay. Those are the only rules I use for Fantasy Cruncher and MLB. Another thing you can be aware of is there are these thumbs up and thumbs down. If you aren't getting enough of a player, you can thumbs up them. That'll make them appear more in your builds. All right, let's hit crunch. Let's talk about, okay, if you have Fantasy Cruncher Pro, you're going to default to the normal randomness. I'm just going to mention you want a higher randomness under this. So I usually set the 75% pitchers and 125% for batters. if you want to get more exposure to a broader diversification, then you increase the randomness. Or you could also cap the exposure of players. So if I put 30% next to Juan Soto, that means he won't appear in more than 30% of the lineups we generate. All right, so we're getting a ton of San Diego, a nice mix of other teams. It looks like Mets are popular here. And if we look at the top stacks tool, San Diego and Mets, they're popping as the two top stacks. So this is it's doing its job with Fantasy Cruncher, like giving us the best projection stacks. But we'll see the ownership is also very high on these. So there's two things we need to do here. All right, we got 430 lineups. I'm trying to narrow this down a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sort by my projection. That will rank the lineups from best to worst in projection. Okay, so hit the check next to select lineups. That will deselect all your lineups. Right-click the check next to a lineup, and you can choose from these options. Select all the lineups above or below. Since all the lineups below this one are ones that have a bad projection, I'm going to select those, and I'm just going to delete them. All right, so we went from 433 to 345. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sort by ownership. And you'll see a lot of these lineups are San Diego, a lot are Mets. If you go into team stacks, you can actually like see the breakdown of how this shakes out. Okay, it looks like every combo is like somewhat uncommon, but all right, let's look at 5-3 stacks. San Diego Mets 9%. Okay, so it's like 17% of that particular two-team combination. But if we look at the top stacks, it's like each one of these isn't that likely to succeed, although they are good. So let's start by ownership, and I'm going to delete the highest owned lineups, so we'll see how this affects our set of lineups. So I think what we're going to see is the ownership on all the San Diego guys is going to come down. The Mets ownership kind of stayed the same. And then we're getting a much wider range of a lot of different teams here. So this is just kind of a way to get a good build going. I think if you're not using exposure caps, then it might make sense to raise the randomness even higher. That's going to make your exposure to any particular player lower. So let's do that. Build 500. I usually build more lineups than I'm going to use, and then I narrow it down from there. So you see the amount of percentage I'm getting to any particular player has gone down, just like I expected. So let's sort by projection again. Deselect the lineups. So I'm going to the bottom like quarter probably, and deleting those low projected lineups. That's because if you use a lot of randomness, not every lineup you make is going to be like a strong one. All right. And then I'm going to delete the highest owned. And now we're seeing a little bit more diversification, which is good in baseball where we really don't have a great sense of what team's going to be the best of the day. Like as we see here, each team has at least a 4% chance. So guys, I hope this helps you get your builds going in Fantasy Cruncher. Once you have this set, okay, just select all your lineups again, and then hit Export Lineups to Excel. And then if you open this, it'll be all your lineups. You can go to their like CSV edit on DraftKings, or if you do the same thing on FanDuel, it looks a little different, but same logic applies. And then you can play a lot of lineups at once. So that's really handy. All right, guys. I hope this helps you get your strategy going in Fantasy Cruncher. The most important thing is that this is a tool to help you build lineups you feel like are going to win. And you should be able to look through these lineups that you generate and be like, okay, this one makes some sense. So, like, for instance, this one, it's like the Cardinals are a little bit lower owned. Like, I got 5% guys. Then I'm mixing it with the top stack of San Diego. So I got a little bit of ownership edge I'm pursuing with St. Louis. And then the pitchers are somewhat chalky, but not the most chalky. So this one, it makes logical sense why this is a good lineup. So you can kind of go through the set you build and go through each of them. And my general feeling is like most people's intuition about what's a good lineup, what's a bad lineup is usually pretty good. So let me know how these strategies work for you in the comments. And guys, I hope if you don't have Fantasy Cruncher already, make sure to check it out. And good luck.